iTiS World of Worship Fellowship, the 11th of September 2023. It's Monday again, meaning we are here for Q&A. We attempt questions about life, about the Bible, about God, about philosophy, love, marriage, you name it. I have all the answers, but because we provoke your thinking and as well. And then God continues revealing himself through the responses and answer. Today we are here again, and we have a question from Christine. Christine is one of our own here. She asked the difference between education and civilization. What is the difference between education and civilization? So that's what we are going to be attempting first, as we wait for the other members to join us. Okay? So Peter, I want to hand over to you. The difference between understood the terms as she asked them. Sometimes definitions help in clarifying certain things. So Peter, please take it away.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much. This is a wonderful one. I'm only going to give an attempt. I'm only going to give an attempt, and I would like us to go to the basics. I'd like us to go to the basics. What does it mean to civilize? I'd like to go to the basics first, and then to educate. Now, because the one who has asked is Muganda, and therefore and people here understand Luganda. I want to start from the Luganda side. The Luganda side. And when you say to civilize in Luganda is okugunjula, civilization obugunjufu. And then to educate is okuyigiriza. Education buyigirize. Educated muyigirize. Now, that's it. I wanted to begin there. And when a Muganda says okugunjula, to civilize, aba ategeeza to the largest extent, aba ategeeza highest, the highest quality, the highest quality of behavior. This behavior could be a way you act, it could be a way you think, the way you feel, or the way you express. That's what Muganda means by okugunjula. Obugunjufu. Obugunjufu bategeeza eddaala erisingayo obulungi era erisingayo okulaga obutegeevu mu nneeyisa naddala mu bantu n'engeri omuntu gy'akolamu ebintu. That's what civilization is about. Naye obuyigirize, Omuganda bw'agamba obuyigirize, nga tetunnagenda mu cultures ndala z'oluzungu n'ez'abazungu abeeru. Obuyigirize Abaganda bategeeza bubuulirire. Now, the Baganda have a proverb that goes nti ndi mugezi nga mubuulire. Now, obuyigirize, the Luganda concept of education is bubuulire. Now, to be educated, kwe kukola ebyakubuulirwa n'obikola mu kiseera we byetaagisa n'abantu abatuufu mu kifo we bigwanira okukolera. Then somebody says, you are educated. You do what you were told to, okay, appropriately, where appropriately means when and where and with whom. That is education. Mu concept y'Oluganda, obubuulire. Ndi mugezi nga mubuulire. In other words, ndi muyigirize nga ndi mubuulire. Ndi muyigirize bwe nkola ekyo kye njigirizibwa mu kiseera we kyetaagisa n'abantu abatuufu mu budde obutuufu ne mu kifo ekituufu. Now, I've taken that stance from using my cultural background. But in other cultures, this might differ. For example, in the culture of English and the related West, education has something to do with the process of transforming what people think, how people feel, and how they act, depending on what they have defined as a problem. And therefore, the educated person is one who knows and is able to think, feel, and act. Okay? Think, feel, and act depending on the problem at hand or the need at hand. Then we say that somebody is educated. So whosoever can act, rather can think, can feel, and act accordingly, depending on depending on the problem at hand, and they can act accordingly, then we say they are educated. Now, somebody can be educated. I doubt whether somebody can be educated but not civilized. I doubt. Probably somebody can be lettered, somebody can be schooled, but without being civilized. But I doubt whether somebody can be educated but not civilized. And I also have probably leave a question here. Which of the two is culture? Are both education and civilization culture? Are they culture or circumstantial? Or one of them is? Probably. Naye bwentyo bwe nnyinza okukwata ku kibuuzo kino kandeka abateesa abalala to approach. Thank you.
I don't know whether abateesa abalala have been following. Those who have just joined us, a question from Tina. Education, civilization. What is the difference between education and civilization? It has been attempting. Priest Isaiah, do you want to say something? I'm sorry, I'm still on the move, so maybe in about 5 minutes I'll settle down.
Thank you, moderator. I think Peter has addressed it ably, unless if there is a follow-up question, but that is it from Peter, and I agree.
You have nothing useful to add. Yeah, Christine, are you answered? Are you happy with the response? Tina, or is the radio station?
Neda,
Are you happy with the response?
I have a follow-up question, Kati. If civilization is civilization the same as discipline, or kubanga Peter abadde annyonnyola, that of my mind as against them discipline, civilization is the same as discipline. Is it the same oba nze abitegedde obufu?
Discipline is a child of civility. But anyway, I'm not the teacher of the day, but I am speaking because I agree with Selvid and I assume that I understood him. So discipline is a child of civility. So it's not the same. It is a product of being civil and civilized. And that is if you understand what civility is, as the professor tried to explain it. Thank you, moderator.
Exactly. Exactly.
Microphone here, Nyabo,
I'm fine now, dear.
Nyabo.
Thank you. Kati kitegedde, thank you.
That if you're happy. So, do you have any other question? I know we have a question from Facebook. Isaiah, you can tag me on that post about parental inheritance. That's someone, the gentleman who asked to also inherit religion out of that inheritance. Remember in your submission, you said there are many things you inherit from parents. You know, just wondering whether religion is one of them. I hope I understood it well. Do you want to answer that quickly and get it out of the way?
You are squeaking, but let us give you the time that you asked. When you reach, then we will continue. But for now, Bob, you're welcome. Chitafe Mukatonda, you're welcome. Chitafe Mukatonda, do you have anything you want to share with us since you haven't been here? And Bob, this is your time as we wait for our moderator to settle in.
Yes, I wanted to say something concerning civilization.
Yes, you wanted to say something concerning civilization. Please continue.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pastor, and thank you, Peter Selvide, aka Professor of Linguistics. Civilization is closely related to selflessness. To be civil means that you deny yourself what you crave for the good of others. Jane Austen and Thomas Hardy, Charlotte Bronte, Charles Dickens write heavily about polished society. A polished society is a society with the members who have polished manners. Polished manners means that you are so sensitive. For example, in Uganda, when you give somebody way to pass, they take it for granted that they must have right of way. When you step away from the door to let a lady enter first, or a gentleman, people take it for granted. But it's a civilized way of putting others first. And then those who are civilized will always say, thank you. You appreciate whichever offer somebody gives you, because you know they're doing so because they value, they respect human dignity. They respect others. And it's at this point that I would say somebody can be civilized without being educated. You can still, like the Baganda culture in Uganda and probably in Africa, almost achieved that level of civilization, where there is respect for elders, respect for sex, respect in terms of greeting. You greet a person you don't know, you offer a stranger a cup of water, you offer to help. Recently, I was trying to ask my way and somebody offered to take me, sat in the car. but he was going to go back on foot. Up to the place, said, this is where you're going, because there were so many paths and that I could get lost. Civilization is when you consider others better than yourself. Education, whereas the goal of education is to civilize the people, because it is in education that those things which society values most are passed on to the young. Unfortunately, when the element of job came in, civilization was sacrificed. So you can be educated without necessarily being civilized. You go to school, you study the theories, you speak very good English, you have the concepts, you can operate a human being, but you're not civilized. You don't care. Those are the doctors who let patients die because there is no money. Those are the drivers who knock borders. Those are teachers who let the others, the learners copy or fail. They don't care as long as at the end of the month, there is an SMS from their bank. So civilization has been sacrificed at the altar of job, work, money, wealth. Otherwise, the goal of education is to civilize the people so that we speak the same language. If we were all selfless, we all long to give others right of way, this country would be the best place, or rather this world would be the best place to live. But even the proponents of civilization right now are saying, if you don't accept the way we think life should be, then we punish you. Your members of parliament are not allowed to step in America because they have not accepted the way we live. Yet civilization says respect the way they live and cherish it. So, Pastor, that's what I can say briefly. Thank you.
Okay. Can I also say our word as you had requested?
Yes, Bob, come in if you want to contribute on that.
Yeah, so I mean, that is well said. And I just wanted to add that if education, if we did not have what we call land helplessness, I don't know if someone knows that definition, land helplessness. We have, as the former, the staff has said, education is supposed to bring us to civilization. Unfortunately, we have very many people, you find them, people who have so many degrees, they've gone to school, but they cannot translate that knowledge which they have acquired, that exposure they have acquired to learn something extra into their way of life, okay? So you find someone with a PhD, you know, civilization is that it shouldn't be drunk and drop on the, and become a nuisance. You know, you're not civilized. So civilization here is in this sense, if someone tells you you are not civilized, you need to learn something. You know, because here people, their definition of civility encompasses so many things. Opening for the lady to go fast, like being a gentleman, is kind of civilization. Kakati nze eyave Uganda nga n'omukyala simugulira luggi lwa motoka oba luggi nga tutuuse ewaka. I find myself nga I'm a total stranger and everyone looks at you nga batukanye gwe osooseyo mu lift ng'ate wabaddewo abakyala. Then you learn, okay, oh, ladies first, oh, you know, these things. So when you're bypassing someone, tomalaga muyitako, you have to say excuse me, because there's that personal space. So you're gonna twamanyira kufubutuka bufubutusi nemwesirika noyitawo, you know. So yeah, every time someone was telling me excuse me, I'm like, why is this person telling me excuse me? It is civil here to, you know, to say someone excuse me when you're going to bypass. So it is a learning process, okay?
So yeah, for me that is my whatever. But also when we were growing up, we used to study about civilization. It meant development. You know, people moving from grass-thatched houses to mabati houses. Civilization has taken place. Basically, people have moved on to a much better, maybe level of understanding, level of living, level of organization. So civilization is supposed to be the practical kind of way of education, kind of, or of advancing. Yeah. So for me, that is how I want to do it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bob. I think we've done justice to that question. We can take on another.
Moderator, are you settled now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I am not speaking for others, but I can. Thank you.
Okay, can we take another question? Does anybody have a question? Or should we go to our archives?
Archives.
Archives?
Hey.
Okay, just give me a minute. Let me just try and go to those archives. And of course, the questions we have are from the usual suspect, who is Peter.
Cheyanga okyali mu archive. Nandibadde mbuuza Christine atubuulireko what motivated her to ask that question.
Okay. Christine, do you want to say something briefly? Because I've reached my archives and I'm ready to ask the question. Christine usually tunes into a radio station, so getting anything out of her might be like squeezing water out of a rock. So let me just go to my next the question from Peter from the archives. And I think this follows the discussion we had on Thursday, if you guys remember, about a public display of affection. I remember there was towards the end, there was a bit of an argument whether some things are universal or not. So this is a good follow-up to that discussion, the social topic. So Peter asks, if sinning is breaking of the law, can sinning be universal? Isn't sinning relative? So that what is sinning among the Baganda is virtuous or not sinning among the Banyarwanda? Is the question clear? If sinning is the breaking of laws, or of the laws, can sinning be universal? Isn't sinning relative? So that what is sinning among the Baganda is virtuous to the Banyarwanda? You guys remember the discussion we had about public display of affection? How some were saying in some places, people greet with a kiss. Now here in Buganda, we find it scandalous and so on and so forth. So I think this is a good follow-up to that question. Let me paste it in the chat as well, so that you guys can read it. Okay, it's about sinning. Is sinning, is there something called universal sinning where something is a sin regardless of where you go? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Bob, let me start with you.
Let me go with the direct answer. It's maybe of the topic to giving feedback in a while. So for me, the direct answer is yes. And it comes from the question itself. If you define sinning as a breaking of the law, if there is a law that is universal, then yes. Because we know there are laws that cut across divides. Okay. But if the law is not universal and it's limited to a particular group or setup or country or community, then it is not sinning for the other community where such law is not being recognized or applied. So to me, that is a direct answer, a simple answer like that. So apply the word sin in terms of breaking the law based on whether this law is being universal or it's being in your community. So respect the community where you are and don't sin, whatever the case. Like me coming here and I start saying stuff about abantu abayita ku side eri, you know, because where I am, it is the, you know, tolina kukwogera like that. So I have to respect the community where I am and play by its rules and respect what they've put as a guideline in their community. So that is my simple direct answer.
Okay, Bob. To Bob, it's a very simple question. If there are universal laws and you break them, yes. Otherwise, the law is relative, depending on where you are. Nicholas, do you have a different view?
The question is limiting because it has been asked in a conditional clause. If sinning is breaking the law, so the answers are going to be also in conditional clauses. So someone would say, if sinning is breaking the law, and then another one would say, if the law is universal, then yes. If the law is not universal, then no. That's how this question would box somebody's response. But if I can get out a little bit.
Help us expand it.
Yes.
So that we benefit from this discussion.
Yeah. Sorry, but as you expand, don't say if the law is local, then the answer is no. The answer is still yes. You are sinning in the local context. Sorry, continue, please.
Oh, okay, thank you, Enoch. Sin is defined many times in moral standards, in moral terms. That's why law comes in. Because law is related to moral obligations. But theologically, sin is separation from God, and that is universal. So when we are looking at sin in a theological sense, then it is universal. It is a separation from God, disobedience to God. But if you look at sin in terms of morality, then it is not universal. Although Enoch thinks that it can be universal. I'll give you an example. In Busogaland, if I shake the hands of my mother-in-law, I'll be punished severely. In fact, I'll be regarded immoral. In Tanzania, where I married, not only do I shake the hands of my mother-in-law, but I also hug her. In fact, I can sit with her on the same bed and jazz, if I can borrow that word from my students. So, whereas one act can be severely punished in one culture, in another culture it is celebrated. In my culture, in Busoga, if my father-in-law brings water for me to wash my hands to eat, then I'm an insolent, disrespectful child. In Tanzania, where I married, if my father-in-law wants to help me wash my hands and I refuse, it means I'm refusing his fatherhood. So in terms of moral standards, there is no universal sinning. Theologically, sinning is universal because it is disobedience to God. It is a separation from God. And the greatest sin everyone has committed is to refuse to accept Jesus Christ as their personal Lord and Savior. That is the greatest sin, which is unpardonable, unforgivable. Refusing to accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, and that is universal. Chair, let me end here for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas. You've expanded the discussion. Let me first go to Peter. Peter, by asking this question, what exactly were you trying to clarify? If I may come back to you before I bring in the next speaker. Peter, or would you further want to clarify what you meant to ask?
Hello?
Yes.
You wanted to find out that?
Would you like to clarify maybe what you're trying to ask? Because people think the question is very limiting when you say sinning is breaking of the law or the laws of whichever geography. Or was that your intention by asking this?
Yeah. Let me check. I want to also get that word for word. I said,
It's
did
in
I say
the
breaking?
chat.
Did I say breaking of the law of laws?
The laws. There was
The moderator should repeat the entire question for you, because you asked it a long time ago, so it is understandable for you not to actually remember the wording of the question.
I'd put it in the chat unless you have no access to the chat, but I can read it. If sinning is breaking of the laws, can sinning be universal? Isn't sinning relative? So that what is sinning among Baganda is virtuous, or not sinning among the Banyarwanda? Something like that.
Yeah.
If sinning is breaking of the laws, can sinning be universal? Isn't sinning relative? So that what is sinning among Baganda is virtuous or not sinning among the Banyarwanda? So that's the question for you. And the moderator wants to know.
Yes, and you know what was running in my head is the thought that laws are culture. Yeah, not necessarily principles, because principles are quite different. But what was running in my head is that laws are culture. The laws of Uganda are not the laws of Kenya, are not the laws of America. Why? Because laws sprout culturally. Because of needs, they can be social or moral or financial, in any field. Laws arise out of the need as identified by a certain people in their society. So that was what that's what was running in my head, and of course, not to avoid where this comes from our brother John in one of the episodes in the Bible, where he argues that that sin is breaking the law. Of course, according to that definition, that translation. But of course, able theologians have explained that in that text, it is not breaking law, it is anomian. I think theologians here have explained anomian, which means absence of law or lawlessness. But in any case, if that can be also taken in that case, for those who think that laws sinning is the breaking of the laws, and the fact that laws are seldom universal, they are seldom universal unless it is a principle. That was what is happening in my head. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Sam Bahati, good to see you, my brother. I know you belong to a certain church which emphasizes the law. So this is a good question for you. Sam, can you talk? There are certain 10 laws which are standard everywhere you go, according to your religion, especially the fourth one.
No, not now, Jethro.
Just
Thank
trying
you.
to tease you. But anyway, okay. That's okay. Tom, would you like to respond to the question?
Nze ndowooza nti abantu wonna wonna we babeera balina ebyetaago byabwe ebibagatta ng'abantu. Kati wonna wonna we bakoze laws basobola okukola laws nga zifaanagana universally. So ng'abantu bonna bonna we babeera basobola okukola laws nga zaawukana ng'abantu. So nze ndowooza nti mu ebyo ebikoleddwamu amateeka nga bibakwatako ng'abantu as a humanity, not si mu buwangwa bwabwe naye ng'abantu. Then mu ekyo buli w'obeera n'osobya amateeka ago agafaanaganya oba osobeza ekintu ekiri mubaaso. Then bw'obeera awantu nga bakoleddwa nga wakoleddwa amateeka naye nga ga-affectinga locality eyo. Take for instance, Reverend kyatugambye mu Tanzania otuula ne ssezaalawo ne nnyazaalawo muli emmere emboozi nemukyazinga like you said and tewali buzibu. Ojja wano mu Buganda okumusinkana obusinkanyi ne muyisiŋŋanya mu kkubo kive. Is a deviation, is a perversion okumukwata munda. So ndowooza muteeka erifaanana lityo wano oba olimenye e Tanzania oba tolimenye. Nze endowooza yange bwetyo bwegamba okuggyako Peter, endowooza yange bwetyo bwegamba. Eyanga so moderator.
Kale sebo, Tom, tuyanziza nnyo. Isaiah.
Hello?
If PDA is acceptable in America, why do you have a problem there? I hope I'm not setting my own question.
No,
But I'm asking about relativism.
I think the question has gone as far as that, but before I reach that extent where the question has reached, I would like to drag this audience a little bit back, and we look at the structure of the question that says that if sinning is breaking of the laws, can sinning be universal? Am I clear, Mr. Moderator?
Yes, you are.
Okay. First of all, I will not focus on the if. My brother Nicholas addressed the if. I am going to address the sinning. And we do not have to agree, but I would like you to listen to me, understand me, then agree or disagree with me after you have understood me. I hope it is not new to some of you, but to me, it is new. And here is what I have to say. There is nothing like sinning. There is nothing like sinning. Sinning, and here I need Nicholas and his colleague Serubide to help me in the English language. Where what do we call words that are created around concepts? there is a concept, then they create a word or a word to indicate the practice of that concept. I don't know what that is called in the English language, but in the Greek New Testament, Paul created many of those words. It's called coinage.
Coinage or coining.
Okay, so sinning is a coinage. So there is nothing like sinning. Why? Because theologically, there is what we call sin. That is a noun. But over time, it has been given a verbal ability and a verbal sense. And through that coinage, because sin is the cause of all that which goes wrong, they have come up with a word known as sinning. Now, sinning, sinning is a coinage. Because when you say sinning, it is like you are doing sin. It is important, ladies and gentlemen, to understand that when theology talks about sin, it is not talking about something that can be done. It is talking about a cosmic power that makes things do or people do. So you don't sin. You are sin itself. Because many people think that, and I understand, I am just trying to stretch our heads here. Many people think that when you steal, you are sinning. And the idea is that if you don't steal, you are not sinning. Therefore, you are free of and from sin. The two ideas are wrong. You are sin before you even start acting out who you are. We would like to remind people these things because they always get forgotten, and in the process we are lost in translation. So you are not just a sinner. You are part and parcel of sin itself. It is for that matter that you cannot go to heaven as you are. You need to be dressed up with a new body. So that's who you are. That's what theology says. That's a noun. That's who you are, what you are. That's who you are. Now, because you are that, because you are that, then your practice is a perpetual, intentional and unintentional violation of the laws. So you violate moral laws, you violate natural laws, and violate each and every principle of functionality because you are sin. You are geared towards that. In fact, Christians are people who are against themselves. And what I mean by that is that you being yourself, is a continuous and a perpetual violation of what is right and what is good. You are opposed to anything good and anything right. Why? Because you are sin. You are a sin agent. And the practice of that is not sinning. No, it is a violation, a perpetual violation, and a continuous one. And you are situated in an environment that is also affected by the same cosmic power known as sin. That also is also a violation itself. So that is who man is and his environment. So moderator and those listening to me, I would like people to understand that when we talk about sin, we are not discussing someone who stole from someone. We are not discussing adultery. No, those are violations of what is right and what is good. Now, before I go to part 2 of this question, does that make any sense to anyone here?
Before you sin, you're already a sinner. Your sin itself.
A lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. I think those are factual.
Okay. Now, the second part of the question is interesting, and I would like you guys to look at it, because it says, isn't sin relative? So that what is sinning, okay, we dismissed the sinning part. Among Baganda is virtuous and not sinning among Banyarwanda. You see, it is not sinning now. Now we are talking about violation. Violation of what is good and what is right. Now, it is important for us to be careful here to distinguish what is relative and what is absolute. What is relative is in moral value is something that does not affect what is right and what is good. That is relative. I will speak as I'm looking for an example. I'll be looking for an example. I have gotten any in my head of it right now to share with you. I mean, something that is relative. For instance, which hand do I use while eating? I think that is relative. That is relative. But if respect is considered relative, then we go back and investigate and find out whether respect is something that does not hurt in a society, the lack of it. Because this generation is filled with people who have turned each and every virtue and value system to be relative. I understand we the Banyarwanda do not kneel. So in this case, what is relative is kneeling. Women kneeling for their husband. I think that is relative. But I don't think that the Baganda are are about kneeling. No, kneeling is a gesture of a principle, and that principle is respect. So between the two, the principle and the gesture of that principle, what is relative? Anyone whose microphone is on.
I'm following.
These are the things that we need to sit down and start thinking. Because the philosophy of relativism is taking over. Whenever we tell people this is wrong, they tell you, no, that is relative. That is relative. It is my life. I am not a Muganda. I am not a Munyarwanda. But you see, the issue is not you being a Westerner or what and what. Because when we tell people that doing this in public is wrong, they tell you, no, it depends on your culture and society. It is relative, therefore, to the culture and society. It is something about where you are. It's not what you are doing, it's where you are. That is the spirit of relativism. Because let me punch in this, and I hope it will fit in. The three of the United States Alvin universities, I think one is Harvard, the other is Pennsylvania, and I think the third one is MIT. Have you guys been following that story? Where they are grilling the chancellors of those universities?
No, I've not followed it.
Yes, they are grilling them over the riots at their universities and the hate speech against the Israelites or the Jewish people. And in fact, one of them resigned. I don't know, maybe it's one of the Pennsylvania. I'm not sure of which one, but one of them has already even resigned. But you see, the Constitution of the United States states clearly that there is free speech. And students have used that free speech to say that all Jews must be killed. What does the Constitution say?
Free speech.
Free speech. Someone has used their free speech to say that all Jews must be killed because of what they are doing to Gaza. The same legislators have summoned such people to tell them that they are not free to say such a thing. Now, what were the framers of this constitution thinking when they introduced free speech? So is free speech a universal value? The quick and lazy answer is yes, it is. But no, free speech is not a value. Because free speech means a speech that is not sensitive. That is what it means. It is free. Free of sensitivity, free of carefulness. It is free. So where the US is struggling with that contradiction, they just need to revise their constitution. You cannot say free speech, but no. We can speak, but we should always remember the principal value of speech and hold that in high esteem instead of being free speakers. So since man who is sin itself, his practice is perpetual violation of all laws. Man, therefore, must investigate what is value, what is good, and what is right thereof. And pattern his arguments, his practice, his speech, his belief system against that. Against that. Therefore, a Muganda should seek value that has been discovered by the Banyarwanda and practice that. A Munyarwanda should seek value that has been discovered by the Bakonzo and practice that. The Mukonzo should seek value that has been discovered by the iTiS and practice that. The Musoga should seek value because these value systems have been revealed in various cultures. So we don't say that is what is relative. Maybe the practice might be relative, but the principle is not relative. So, moderator, two things that I wanted to point out. First and foremost is that there is Christians love pointing it out, sinning, but there's nothing like sinning, but there's perpetual violation of what is good, what is right, and what is valuable. There's that perpetual violation. We have violated the world of sex with homosexuality. We have violated the world of faithfulness with corruption and adultery and lies. We have violated the world of health with poor diets and pharmacologies that we put on the marketplace that hurt your health. We are into that business of always violating each and every law because we are that, not just sinful, but sin itself. That's who we are. So it is important for those who advocate for the law to be reminded that there's nothing you can do about the law, because before you even start observing it, you are already a violation of the law. Therefore, we the Christians insist and believe that we have decided to be rebels and rebellious against that perpetual violation. So we try as much as we can not to violate the principles whenever we are notified about them. We try as much as we can not to do that. And we don't do that to be saved. That's very important. We do that to survive. It is important that whoever obeys the law understands that they are not obeying the law to be saved. No, you are obeying the law to survive. Survive what? Your environment. Because all the laws that you might mention that you obey are environmental laws. They have nothing to do with your spiritual life. The business of your spirituality is between your heart, mind, and your God, not your practice. I hope I didn't take this question in a different direction, Mr. Wellred.
No, you didn't. I think it was very, very useful. Peter, the person who asked this question, how do you feel?
Clear.
And I think clear.
Clear.
Akantu ka relativity ako kali nnyo ku practice oba ku symbolism ekyensinza okuwulira.
Omanyi alina kayogedde n'agamba value nti when you recognize value among the Baganda, the Banyankole, the Bazungu, and you recognize that value as principle, then take the value, find a way of practicing it. And I just remembered that it's now coming to a year ever since I started practicing not using polythene. There is a way I started minimizing using polythene or polythene paper. And it's becoming, and wherever now I go, people think I have a Randi's induction. But I told them I only learned that if there is a way of avoiding it, then, and I can avoid it, then it's a value. I discovered it as a value. And I just feel good because I'm making a year without, by avoiding a polythene in every sense, not using it as a packaging material. So I've just learned that relativity can vary in, relativity can be present in practice. But for example, the principle of respect, while the Muganda might practice it through kneeling, another one might do it through standing. And so that is relative, but the principle is not.
Mm.
And I'm also thinking, I'm thinking my head is running, spinning about free speech. That was it was a landslide example of relativity. I'm just thinking again, over and over again, what is now free speech? What are human rights? I mean, I'm just bamboozled, but I'm good.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Any other reflection from anybody here? Reflection, learning, follow-up question, comment. Nicholas, how are you feeling?
I am well.
You're very well. Super.
Yes.
Okay, so looks like you guys have no further comments. We have time for, I think, another question if there's one. Is there another question? Or should I go to my archives once again and pick up another? Sam, do you have a question for us? I think this is your second time here. Let me give you the chance to ask a question if you have one.
Moderator, for today, I'm just enjoying listening.
Just enjoying
Yes.
listening to the radio station. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we have listeners to our radio station. They come here and don't say anything for 2 hours. But they're here.
They have got a brother now, officially.
Not
Same
really.
WhatsApp group.
The first day I came here, I made a lot of noise, so I can't be their brother. But I'm very cool.
Nobody's,
So
it's good to have you.
You want to be a brother to my AP and
Maybe we could deny nonya banno. Nonya banno we muri WhatsApp group here. Anyway, I'm just going to my archives. I'm going to pick up another question. This one is a bit theological, if not academic. I don't know if many will be able to attempt it. But well, let's get it out of the way. What is the difference between? Sorry. What are the Amphictyony wars in the Old Testament narrative of the Bible, and how do they affect our interpretation of the Old Testament scriptures? Like I said, this is a technical question. Probably the only theologians will be able to help us. Let me put it in the chat as well. Peter, you remember this question?
Yes, I do.
Yes, Amphictyony wars and how they help us. I hope I'm even pronouncing it right, by the way.
You do.
Yeah, but there we are in the chat. If you can check the chat, that's the question we're attempting from our archives, from the usual suspect, Peter. Please send us questions. You don't have to wait for Monday. If you have a question during the week, you can WhatsApp me, and I'll keep it in my archives, and then we can always answer it when the time allows. Yeah, so the question is in the chat. I don't know how many can attempt this. It seems theological and academic to me. I don't know about you other guys. Isaiah, you go first. Maybe the others will follow you. This rabbit hole we are entering.
Okay, first of all, I would like to alert our audience that while Google is not the final authority to one's epistemology opportunities. It is, however, a starting point. So whenever we mention here terms and jargons and what, try to type in as you're listening in. Type in something in Google and then get a starting knowledge, you know, and then come back and ask questions, because we are not speaking for any other church or any other religion or any other fellowship, but at iTiS we emphasize that everything must be questioned, and every presenter at iTiS must be questioned, because through that kind of questioning we not only learn, but we also unlearn. I can assure you, I have learned too much theology outside the university than I learned in the universities. So through my books, through my interaction with the online teachers, and through my interaction with especially the congregation and the audience that I deal with, I have become better, not the best theologian, but I have become better, a better theologian in that sense. And most importantly, I have become a better Christian than I was. So it matters that you keep questioning. Thank you, my elder. It matters that you keep questioning these things. So when you hear the moderator mention a word like amphictony, the spelling is AMPHICTONY. Amphictony. You type in that into Google and find out. Unfortunately, I've also warned people here again and again that while everyone has access to Google, you also need help on how to use Google. So it is important that you get someone to help you how to use Google. How do I even source Google? How do I source Google? Because many people Google things and then they come here and authoritatively. Because there's a reason as why Google is at hand and ChatGPT is at hand, and we still have universities running and professors like Nicholas, like Sabbath-day in universities also teach. There's a fundamental reason. So I also plead with all those who are using Google, because many are using Google, that you need guidance. You need guidance. That's why you need to question everything. So question your pastor, question your teacher, question everyone, question your Google content, question everything. And from that perspective of questioning, you will grow. That's why at iTiS we say that questioning to believe and believing to live. That's what we say at iTiS. At iTiS. Moderator, I wanted to first use that intro for all of us, including myself. That we need to
it's helpful. It's helpful.
But when we talk about amphictony, we are talking about amphictony means 12. When you use it from the Greek perspective, because those are the mothers of that term amphictony. But in the biblical sense, when we say the amphictony wars, we are talking about the wars between the 12 tribes of Israel. By the way, let me also mention this, because I might not mention it soon, and it might be helpful to someone. Because I know when you speak for so long, people just speak one thing, and this might be what you will take. Israel means one who wrestles with God. That is what Israel means.
One who wrestles with God.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Yes, that's what Israel means. It means one who wrestles with Elohim. One is Israel. Israel, Israel, wrestling with the El, with God. So ever since Israel was, Bob, your network is not good. Am I alone? And that's when he was named Israel. But you see, names are very powerful, by the way. Maybe we will again do something about names, Mr. Moderator. Because ever since it was named Israel, this nation has been struggling with God till today. They have not believed this God. They are still wrestling with this God. And not only with this God, but with everyone. That is Israel. That is Israel for you. But let's look at the 12 tribes, because Amphictony means 12 from the Greek perspective, 12 tribes or 12 nations surrounding the same deity or worshiping the same deity, but not agreeing themselves. So what the point of meeting is the deity. But individually, they do not agree. Does anyone follow?
They just agree to meet.
They just agree to meet. It's like, let me use an example of the history of Rwanda. And also use the example of the church of my elder Bahati. In the history of Rwanda, the Hutu and the Tutsi, who were Seventh Adventists, agreed as far as Adventism is concerned, isn't it? But they disagreed on the principle of Hutu and Tutsi. Now, why am I sharing that example? It is because I want to demonstrate the Jewish Amphictony. When time comes, we'll talk about the Greek Amphictonies, but let's talk about the Jewish Amphictony, because that's what is in the Bible. Now, the Jewish Amphictony starts with a man known as Jacob, who wrestles with God, and I've demonstrated that in the name of Israel. Now, that wrestling characteristic is going to manifest also in his family structure. Because you all know that Jacob worked for his uncle, Laban, and they had an agreement, a contract for that work. The agreement that they had was, I work for you, then you give me a wife. Now, Laban had two daughters, one who was beautiful and one who had weak eyes. You see, it is not proper to say that someone is ugly, unless if you are Isaiah, who is not civilized. See, but if you are civilized like other people who are not like me, myself, the Bible is that civilized to say that Rachel was beautiful, but Leah had weak eyes. Has anyone ever read that version of the Bible?
Yes, I did. I have.
Yeah, it says that she had weak eyes. So whenever you find a lady who is ugly, you don't tell them that they are ugly. No, they just have weak eyes. I love the Bible. I love the Bible. Glory to God. So Laban knew that the one with the one with weak eyes was the elder, and in the culture she was the first to get married. That was the chronology. But now we have an in-law who wants the younger, who is beautiful. So Laban is between a rock and a hard place. So he decides to cheat. After Jacob had worked for 7 years, the uncle tricked him and gave him the elder. The culture is you go in the house and then they bring your bride at night and you sleep with that bride. without seeing, no lights, no what. So in the morning, he found out that he was sleeping with the elder sister, not with the one that he had worked for. Went back to the uncle. The uncle told him, you can work another 7. And the brother worked for another 7. Choyagala Chiku says that the Baganda say, there's a cost on whatever that you want. He worked another 7. Those are 14 years. Then he got his 2 wives. When he got his 2 wives, each of these came with a maid. Now, Jacob had his children from essentially four wives. Of course, 2 official wives and I think 2 concubines. Now, those are the 12 sons of Jacob. They come from those 2. Now, there's the loved one, there's the unloved one, and there are these maids. Now, the family of Jacob is a family of favoritism, okay? And those who are not actually liked and even loved. Those are the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, those wars, their victory begins with the hatred from the brothers against their youngest brother, Joseph. Joseph born by the favorite wife in the family. So the 11 tribes gang up against one tribe, the tribe of Joseph. Mistreat it, throw it in the pit. But all these 12 tribes are around a Jacob. That Jacob is representative of a deity, because the head of the family is the voice of God, of the deity in the family. So eventually, one tribe is thrown into exile, Egypt, and we are left with 2. Eventually, in Genesis, I think chapter 50, another tribe is captured again in Egypt. So 10 tribes return to the father. Eventually, all of them are taken into slavery. They struggle with slavery for 430 years. Then Moses comes. When Moses comes, their fiction rebuilds again. They build a sanctuary. I don't want to call it a temple because it's not yet a temple. They build a sanctuary. And when they build the sanctuary, that is the book of Exodus and the book of Numbers. When they construct that sanctuary, those chapters are very important for those of you who have been reading the Bible. Those chapters are demonstrating these amphictonies. Because there's a chapter in the book, I think in Exodus, which talks about how they all pitched their tents surrounding the sanctuary. Has anyone read that chapter?
Yep.
Yes, then they say the tribe of Reuben and the tribe of Gad and the tribe of. So when they mention those names, I want you to go back to Genesis and find out who is the neighbor to who and why. Is anyone following? Because the neighbors of Joseph and Benjamin, those who are not born by the favorite mother, do not want to be neighbors. Then these sons who are born by these maids want to be neighbors. And in fact, majority sons were born by maids and the other unfavorite wife, Leah. Those constitute actually the 10 tribes of Israel. Eventually, those that got lost. And there's reasons why they got lost. But anyway, we'll get there someday. So there's reasons why that chapter is telling you who pitched their tent where, neighboring who, and why. Why is that important? Because by the time we get to conquering Canaan, all these 12 tribes are not fighting on the same front, by the way. This is something that you need to know. Now, to understand that, you can read the book of Joshua. Okay. Now, but so when they are going to conquer Canaan, you'll find the Reubenites together with a certain team fighting on a different front, and they attack from Jordan. Those are not even under the command of Joshua. Because people think that Joshua is leading the entire nation in attacking Canaan. No. These tribes agree on Yahweh. But as tribes, they do not agree. It is like the historical Banyoro and Baganda fighting for liberation from Bazungu. They agree on that liberation from the Bazungu, the whites. But they do not agree. As the Baganda and Banyoro, they don't agree. A bad chicken in Buganda is called a Munyoro chicken. Akakoko akachi?
Akanyoro.
There's a reason for that. So what we call the Amphictyon Wars are the wars between these tribes fighting each other. And that is what the book of Numbers is actually about. No. The book of Judges is actually about.
Pastor.
Is Peter saying something? Yes.
Is that what we see in Judges, where these tribes, they cut a certain woman into pieces and they go on throwing pieces of, they mutilate, in fact, is the word.
The idea of that guy who did that thing in the book of Judges was, the reason as to why we have failed to erase the Canaanites is because we are not united. We are fighting each other. If we unite, that's why he threw all those pieces in different camps of those tribes. Those are the Amphictyon Wars. The Judges, the Deborah, the Samson, who is the other judge? They are six. They are like six. Who is this one who was worshiping Baal?
There is Gideon.
Gideon. All those judges, those are community judges. They are warriors from different tribes. They're not fighting for the whole of all of Israel, 12 tribes. No, they are fighting. In fact, some tribes, those who are good fighters like the Reubenites, are stable. Then those who are weak have partnered with the other. That's why Benjamin eventually partners with Judah, because Judah is a huge tribe. They are big in numbers. So Benjamin cannot survive alone. Then later, you'll find the tribes that came from Joseph, Ephraim, and who? The problem is that I don't have Bible readers.
Joseph had two other.
One was those that came from Joseph. One was Ephraim, because when we are dividing Canaan, they considered his two tribes that came from him, Ephraim, and I've forgotten the other. So those ones also have to partner with Judah. Then the other children from the unfavorite wife Leah, and together with those who came from the maids and concubines, those in large numbers form what we call Israel, the 10 tribes. And then these ones, the favorite, form what we call Judah, the 2 tribes, because Judah was formed. Those Amphictyon Wars are going to be very important, because what makes King Saul and King David very significant to Israel, it is because they are the only 2 kings that survived in uniting the 12 tribes. And those are the ones who got rid of the Amphictyon Wars. That's why David is celebrated. He united the nation of God. Saul is the greatest. Saul, together with Samuel, Prophet Samuel, succeeded in uniting that. Then he was replaced with David. Then after David, Solomon came. When Solomon came, he overtaxed the other 10 tribes. And eventually there was a cleavage in that kingdom. And that's how we had the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. In that manner, in fact, they started even starting their own altars. You can't go to Jerusalem. There's a certain king who started an altar. Was he called Jeroboam? I think it was Jeroboam. And then told them, you can't go to Jerusalem. You must worship from here. Now, moderator, briefly, that is what we mean when we talk about the Amphictony, or the Jewish Amphictony and the Amphictony wars. I would like to pause from there because of the stretching. So, God bless you.
Thank you. There was part B of how it affects how we should interpret the Old Testament, but I think it's been kind of implied.
Yes.
Petero, this is your question again, so I have to keep coming back to you. Are you happy?
Yes, I'm sorted.
Okay, super. And all those who didn't know what Amphictony was, I guess now you have a new buzzword. You can go and brag around that you know what Amphictony is. Anyway, yeah, we have about 18 minutes. I don't know if we have time for another question. I doubt. Maybe a short one. I don't know. You guys can advise. Maybe somebody's in the chat. Let me just check that. And the moderator needs a new phone. His phone is old. It's very slow. That's why he hesitates.
Bob should work on that. He's in the United States. Bob, you send a used iPhone to the moderator. Because
moderator is suffering.
AB is preparing for mine on the 1st January, so we cannot task you on that. So AB, don't worry, you can partner with Elder Sam to work on that Samsung S20 Ultra for the post. AB and
very specific requests. Anyway, we have 17 minutes. Do you have anything, any burning issue we can discuss? Or maybe a question we can start on and probably conclude next Monday? Who has a question? Or a comment about what we've been discussing? Or any other business to discuss in these few minutes before we go?
Okay, that's something.
Any other business?
Yes, Becky.
Chairman, how are you? And everyone, how are you? Kakati Chairman.
Very well, Becky. I hope I'm going to see you on Sunday. First things first, I hope I'm going to see you on Sunday.
The Holy Spirit will work wonders. We'll see me.
Becky.
Are you back? Becky, are you back in Uganda?
No, not yet.
The Holy Spirit is working on that. The Holy Spirit is going to get her a ticket. Anyway, Becky, go ahead.
Kakati, I want update. Loli walio tunyumiza about your issue with your colleague.
How
did it go? No, I'm a woman.
Moderator Ebbi abuuza omukulu oli akyawunya yayongeramu yasala.
Lwaki okuwa update omukulu akyawunya era kyajja mu
Amabbe tuwuziza kituufu tulina okubeera nga tulondoola ku bantu.
Awabyaze ku mugambo.
Tayinza butajja mu kusala waadi.